Hello, my love, and welcome to welcome to day 8 of the 111-day quest. My name is Kylie Nell. Hi, if you're new here. I've started this 111-day mind, body, soul quest as a personal experiment and journey to really finding balance between the sacred masculine and feminine, and to really show an in-depth behind the process of what it's like for the next 111 days to go through great transition and change into transforming the best possible version I can be of myself before I turn 30 next year. And that feels like such a vibe. And you can use this 111-day quest for any big dream that you are manifesting, any goal that you are stepping into, any version that you want to become, and to truly allow this quest to guide you in, being able to step into the best version of yourself. I'm like, Kylie, that intro. Day 8. Wow, we've completed a week. Yay us, here's day 8. I feel like day 8 has such a powerful nugget to share with you. It's really leading upon the conversation of day 7, where we spoke about navigating the void. So if you haven't checked that out, go have a look. It's going to really just provide like the context to navigating like this space and being in the void and what that looks like. Now, before we start over that, I really want to introduce you to the concept of having different bodies, because this is going to be very crucial, and it's very much so the foundation to the mind, body, soul experiment. So we have different bodies. We typically just know of our physical body because it's like what we see, it's what we can touch, it's the most present and prevalent within our field. But if we go deeper, and this is really what informs the practices of mindset work, of psychology, of quantum energetics, of Reiki healing, energy healing, and like spiritual and the spiritual world within, is that we then go deeper into that. So we also have our mental or our mind body, we have our emotional body, we have our spiritual body, and then we also very much so have our energetic body. Now, this can also go further into like your astral body and those deeper parts. But I feel like that very much informs your understanding once you go deep into the field of energetics. But I'm like, when it comes to like our basic day-to-day navigation, we don't have to overcomplicate it beyond that. We can really just know that we have these 5 bodies. We have our physical body, our mental body, our emotional body, our energetic body, and our spiritual body. Now, your physical body is also your, like I said, it's like your 3D body. I also refer to the physical body as like the 3D plane. It's how we navigate our physical world, right? We then have our mental body, which informs your mindset. It's where your beliefs are housed. It's your subconscious reprogramming or programming. It's very much so all to do with the mind, the neural space, and being in the, like that head space. You then have your emotional body, which houses all your emotions. Now, your emotional body, and this is the part that's so important to realize, is it is something that is ever present within every single part of you. So your emotional body is almost like another bodysuit that you put on, because our emotions are energy and motion. So they show up and inform in various different parts of our being, our physical body. You then have your energetic body, which can also then be thought of as your aura. It's like your presence, it's your energy, it's your frequency, it's your energetic signature. And you then have your spiritual body, which is very much your soul. It's that inner higher self knowing, that higher self consciousness. Now, collectively, all these together, especially your mental, and I would say your physical too, but your mental, your emotional, your energetic, your spiritual, this creates your overall frequency with which you manifest. So if you've ever wondered what people mean about if they speak about frequency, it's really relating to those bodies. It's relating to the physical body, with how can you hold space, like nervous system work goes in there too. It relates to the mental, the emotional, the energetic, and the spiritual. So that's a really good understanding and basis to have, especially when diving more into the quantum world and opening yourself up to these kinds of practices. Now, day 8, I really want to specifically focus on the emotional body and bring this to your awareness, because this very much falls into our conversation yesterday of the void, where you may find that as you're up leveling, as you're going through all this change, things may come up into your field and into your awareness that are not in alignment with this phase that you're in, that may actually become a self-sabotaging cauldron if we allow it to sink its teeth into us, as opposed to being able to work through it. And I actually want to read to you what I wrote here in my journal as I was reflecting upon this. I said here, the emotional body can delay us from stepping into the next level and next version embodiment when it continues to hold onto and fire response patterns as they relate to past experiences, where our mind has created blueprints for ourselves and memory maps. So it was so interesting that this term memory maps came through for me, because it's literally like when you are going through experiences. So maybe you can think of like a relationship. Maybe you're using this 111-day quest because you want to manifest your dream partner, or if it's your body, or if it's like success in your business, whatever realm of life. I'm going to use relationships as an example. So let's say you've never been in a relationship before and it's your first time heading in. You're going to go in so bright-eyed and bushy-tailed into that relationship because you're like, oh, this is a completely new experience. Like, I can't wait to see what's going to unfold. Like, there's a completely different energy. Where imagine like you have now gone through really traumatic experiences in your relationship. You had a very abusive ex, like things just were not in a great vibe, and it's left a few dents within you. Now suddenly going into a new relationship, there's triggers that you have to navigate. There's fears, there's trauma responses. You don't open up as easily anymore. Like there's all these layers that have come with your experiences of the past, where your mind has created a memory map for yourself. And the reason why I've really used this term memory map is because that's what our mind does. It will constantly refer to experiences of the past to inform how you should show up right now, because all it wants to do is keep you safe. But the mind is very primal in that sense. So it will literally be like, okay, cool. Like Kylie is now in a relationship. So I'm going to refer back to my experience of past relationships. And in those periods, if at any time I experienced any harm or I felt unsafe or anxiety, like my mind is literally going to try its absolute possible best to stop me from going back into that space. Or if it feels or has any sort of perception that this space is coming up again, like abuse within a relationship, or maybe there was a memory where I had like very much so, like I had one of my exes like shout at me all the time. So raising his voice, and let's say suddenly my husband now, even though he doesn't do this, it's just the sake for an example, like starts raising his voice to me, and then like triggers go, like my mind goes into triggers and I suddenly like dissociate in that moment, and I'm just like crying and I pull back and I completely retreat. That is such a good example of how your brain has kicked into using a memory map to keep you safe. Even if in that context it may not be necessarily necessary, even if that context you're like, well, I'm a changed woman, like I don't respond that way, or I don't want to dissociate anymore, whatever it may be, but your mind and your brain will continue to take you back to what is the last or most significant like memory I have of this, like the storage I have of this. Now looking back into the last and most significant time I had memory of this event, I am now going to inform the way Kylie shows up in this moment right now to ensure that she is safe and protected and well prepared for whatever is coming her way. Because I being my brain, don't want her to experience that level of discomfort and anxiety and feeling threatened for her safety like she used to before. And so what happens is these memory maps continue to play within our beings, and they continue to reinforce how we show up in the world unless we consciously bring them to the surface and actually start to work with our emotions like we would with a child. To actually be like, hey fear, I see you. What do you need? Let me give you your attention. What do you need right now? What's coming up for you? Okay, but we don't need to do this anymore. We are safe. Or we don't need to do this anymore. We now have the skills to cope. Or we don't need to do this anymore because we are now a changed woman. Like we don't go back to those parts. We now know our boundaries. We know our personal power. Whatever it may be. But unless we really realize that our emotional body very much so will continue to fire responses that will reinforce the memory maps our mind has created, unless we consciously go in and change it. Unless we constantly go in and we're like, no, I'm not available for this anymore. No, this is not what I'm doing. No, like this is not the energy that I'm tapping into. And so really realizing that about your emotional body as you're navigating the space of unbecoming and becoming, very much so that void space, where are you finding old emotions continue to come up? Old emotions that actually very much so aren't even part of your field anymore. They aren't even part of the woman that you want to be. But because they're so deeply ingrained within your memory maps, they continue to reinforce the way you show up. They continue to reinforce what you believe to be true for yourself in that moment in time. I actually wrote this here. To keep us safe and not to be put back into the familiar spaces and past memories in an attempt to prevent you from experiencing harm. Your memory map, however, has no mapping of the changes though. So it's important to realize, and this is a key nugget to navigating the void and moving through it, is that your memory map, as remember the void, is that space between the 3D self is catching up to the spiritual being, to all the outer world is not catching up to the inner world. Our memory maps do not have conscious recollection of the changes that have happened. So let's say, for instance, in a relationship, the memory has mainly been anxiety and the sense of flight and fight. But you've worked on that. You've worked on boundaries. You've worked on allowing yourself to feel safe. Like, you've done a lot of the inner work around it. So your attitude and energy and who you are in relationships has changed. But what hasn't changed is that your memory map, that memory within you of, ooh, I have to be on my toes the whole time in a relationship. Ooh, I'm not safe. That memory map hasn't actually sat with the changes that you've now worked on in your inner world. The mastery of being able to dissolve that memory map so that you can fully step into becoming who you want to be and stop the self-sabotage from happening is going to take conscious reinforcement, where you're going to be like, hey, I see you. I see this memory map coming up for me, but you know what? I've been working on this. I have now developed more confidence. I've now developed more trust. I'm more assured in setting boundaries. So we don't go there anymore. We've changed this. We are now safe. And through that process, that memory map will either become very, very thin, or it will be able to completely dissolve and become obsolete. But just because you've done the inner work doesn't mean that knee-jerk reactions will not then still come up later down the line that you then need to work through and reinforce more so, to be like, hey guys, like, we're not doing this anymore. Hey guys, like, this is not what we're doing. We're now stepping into a new way of being. And I think this is such an important thing to realize, because again, like, when these old, like, I also call them like knee-jerk reactions come up, and we can call them more like solid turn, like the memory maps in your body. Like, when they do come up, it's important to have that conscious reinforcement, but not to take that as a sign that you're regressing or things are moving behind, but to actually be like, no, no, no. This actually just truthfully so means that even more so I am changing, even more so I'm stepping into the woman I've always wanted to become. And now it is really up to me to hold space for old parts of myself, for old memories, for old triggers to come to the surface, so we can move through them and successfully be able to up-level. Ooh. I feel like since day 7 in this conversation of the void, I truthfully feel like the next 7 days of this quest is going to be huge. It's really going to force a deep shift or integration to happen from the like 5D, 4D into like from the subconscious mind, spiritual self, translating that into 3D and allowing this full embodiment to happen. So I'm excited for that. I will catch you, my loves, tomorrow in day 9 of the 111-day quest. Let me know your biggest takeaway in the comments below. And with that, I will see you soon. Bye for now.